and it was so bold and it was so exciting, just a masterpiece.
Amazing places of worship.
Philip Johnson is the designer of the chapel. The suggestion to use Philip Johnson came from Mrs. Damon, who had him as the architect of her home here in Houston. And Dominic Damon is one of the sponsors of the university over many years. And the Damon offered to take care of Johnson's fee if we'd allow him to design the basic mall of the university and the first buildings. The original plan was to have divine wisdom at the chapel and one end of the mall. Human wisdom was stored in the library at the other end of the mall.
I'm Bill Merriman. Philip was the design architect. My partner Dan Holt and we were the architect of records. Our responsibility was building the building, basically not to screw it up, to be able to deliver what he designed and realizing his vision. We became involved with the chapel through an interview process. We met Philip Johnson and he liked us and we were excited to get the commission. The university, when they approached Johnson, knew that Johnson was at the end of his career. The question in my mind was, what are we going to get? And is this going to be Philip's best work, or are we going to get something that's like on the back of a napkin and we have to really figure it all out? As soon as he showed us the plan, it was like, wow. I mean, it was so bold and it was so exciting, just a masterpiece. My next thought was, what is a university going to think? They immediately saw reference in the architecture to scripture.
Philip Johnson was very insistent that there be a dominant feature of the cube. The entrance forms that feature a long, slanting opening. This was done to represent the tent flap of the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was kept in a tent, and the flap of the tent was open to give admissions to the chapel. During the 40 years that the Jewish refugees were going across the desert,
it all worked very well. And at the end of the construction drawings, we're getting ready to start construction, and it turned out the bishop had never reviewed the drawings. And lo and behold, there was a huge issue with the placement of the Reconciliation Chapel, which is a confessional. Philip had it right next to the chancel in the front of the chapel. The bishop said, no, it has got to be at the entry, because there's a sense of cleansing yourself before you come in for worship. Johnson flew down to discuss all of this with the university, and we all gathered around the table, and the university explained the situation. Sometimes Philip was so taken with the design that he didn't really want to consider practical issues. And Philip says, well, of course we've got to change it. If the bishop doesn't like it, then we must make those changes. And I thought, wow, this is unbelievable. He made those changes, and it was a better building than it was before.
I occasionally give tours of the chapel to various groups, and I have a group of architects here. One of the things they ask first is, where is the lighting? I see no fixtures anywhere. Johnson was quite insistent that there be no hanging fixtures. The lighting is all natural during the daylight, from the great cross on the west side to the opening between the dome up above. As the sun changes from east to west, it comes through the slip in the sphere and the dome at some times of the day, and of course in the afternoon it comes brightly through the big cross. The cross covers the whole west wall of the chapel, the shadows and nuances of the chapel change, give a continuous motion to the activities in the chapel. It's all a design that I'm sure that Jocelyn just drew and decided he liked that shape. The great wall outside, one of the architectural features, is also the belfry. It's a long tradition in the church that bells be christened, be baptized, be given names. There are 3 bells. Each of them was anointed with the oil of baptism and given a name. And the big bell is St. Basil. The second bell is his brother Gregory. And the third bell is his sister Macrina. And Basil, Gregory, and Macrina were all saints of the 4th century in Asia Minor and what is now Turkey.
I love this kind of simplicity and purity in that architecture. So it was a thrill to meet someone that I'd always respected. It was one of certainly the highlights of my career, my partner, Dan Holt.
Do you know an amazing place of worship? If so, email us and tell us why it's amazing. Send your email to amazingplacesofworship@gmail.com.